Welcome to another episode here on the Daily Reload. So we're going to go through some charts today, go through a couple different metrics, and I'm just going to give you my update here on the market. Obviously, we know things have been kind of taking a turn for the better here in the past couple days. Prices are up, the market is up, good stuff to see. So we're going to dive into it. I'm going to give you my reasoning on why I think this is happening and, what we can expect to see next. So thanks for joining me here on the Daily Reload. Subscribe to the channel. Catch these daily videos, catch my daily updates, and drop your feedback down below, and I'll cover anything that you got questions about. Thanks for being here with me. Drop a like on the video, and let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. So today I want to go ahead and start here on DeFi Llama, right? So just want to show you some metrics that I like to take a look at on a daily basis. At least, usually a daily basis, to be perfectly honest, but even if this is something that you just check once a week, you'll be in a better spot in terms of keeping up with what's going on in the markets here. So this is the total value locked on all chains here on DeFi Llama. You can go to DeFiLlama.com /chains to access this page. And it shows you basically what all the TVL is in all the chains across the entire crypto ecosystem, obviously. But what I like to keep an eye on, what I think is most important rather, is right here you can see the stable coins and then the 24-hour volume on these chains. You can also see the 24-hour fees, but that's less important in my opinion. There is a lot of good information here on DeFi Llama, by the way, for research. But what I like to look at is this 24-hour volume metric. And the reason that I think it's so important is because it will give you a really good idea of how many people are using the chain and how many people are, how much value is being exchanged on the chain. So one thing that I think is really impressive here is Ethereum, obviously in number one. We got $80 billion worth of stable coins on Ethereum, and the 24-hour volume is $1.43 billion. Pretty good, obviously that's excellent for Ethereum. They make a lot of money on fees, whatever else. So that's good stuff there. Then we have Tron here with $8.6 billion in TVL. Tron is, I'm going to do a video on Tron, I think, at some point. Obviously, here in the US, it's not something that we really use that much. It's not something we really have access to be perfectly honest, through any of the exchanges that, here in the US, any KYC exchanges. Anyhow, look at this stablecoin volume here on Tron. And this isn't volume, this is just how many stablecoins are on the chain, natively issued on the chain. $56 billion. But you see their TVL is at $8.6 billion. 24-hour volume is only $22 million. Not even 22, just right by $22 million. So there isn't a whole lot going on Tron. Tron mainly, in my, based on what I know about it, is used for stablecoin transfers. So that is, the most, I guess, oftenly used use case for it. But let's go ahead and skip past that. Solana is one that I want to take note of here. So Solana, as well as Arbitrum and Base. So obviously we know Solana is, a big contender this cycle for top three. And we could see it here. Total value locked is only at $4.5 billion. But there's 139 DeFi protocols. There is just shy of 1 million addresses. It's over double the addresses in the last 24 hours that are active on Solana than it is on Ethereum. Double. Now, I'll give you that Arbitrum obviously has a little bit more than Solana here, and so a lot of ETH users are going to be on layer 2 using Arbitrum. It's much cheaper, and so that, I'll concede that. But that doesn't change the fact that Solana is putting up, $1.2 billion in 24-hour trading volume, which is just shy of what Ethereum's doing. So I think that's a really impressive metric. Big reason why I'm so bullish on Solana and the Solana ecosystem. Arbitrum, I think, is a great layer 2, and then Base, of course, has some big advantages as a layer 2 as well. that being said, I don't want to spend too much time on this page here. I feel like I probably already have, but there's a lot of good information that you can find here when you're doing research on these chains and you want to understand better what ecosystem is a good fit for your investment. That being said, let's go ahead and move on to the charts here. So first, we're going to start out on the DXY. So for those of you who don't know, the DXY is the US dollar index. So this is what represents the strength of the US dollar against a basket of other fiat currencies. 2 days ago, we saw a big dip in about 70 points that we fell here on the DXY. It was a pretty good day for crypto, as we all know. 2 days ago, Bitcoin pumped 7.5%. So typically when the DXY falls, the rest of the market is bullish. So that is, confluence right here with what happened. The Dixie fell pretty substantially and the market pumped. Now, the next day, obviously yesterday, we all know the market was flat and down to an extent. So most things were flat or down, and the DXY was back up again. But today we'll see, the DXY is coming up again, and risk assets still have an appeal to investors today, to the market. So everything is up for the most part today. There's a few things that are down a little bit, but the majority of the market is pumping. So interesting stuff to keep an eye on. We'll see how the stock market does here today. I don't have. There are a couple stocks I'm going to show you guys here when we get into some charts, but I haven't taken a look at like the NASDAQ or anything yet. This morning it's 4:34, so the market's just opened up about 34 minutes ago, and I haven't been able to take a look at that yet. But that being said, always a good idea to keep an eye on the DXY, see what's going on with the dollar, and this way, it'll give you a clearer understanding of what likely is going to happen in risk markets. It looks like basically we bounced off this 50 EMA here on the weekly chart for the DXY. The trend appears that it does want to seem to break below. So, hopefully for us, we'll see a break below and maybe a bounce around 102.85, something along those lines here, which is the swing high back here in March of 2020. So we'll keep an eye out for that. All good news, though, for risk on assets and crypto. Okay, moving over to Bitcoin. This is the image that I had drawn the other day for the path that I've seen Bitcoin taking so far with this inverse head and shoulders pattern. It looks like we got some confluence going on here with this big break above the 50-day EMA, this big vector candle, 7.6% to the upside, green vector candle, a green vector candle with a break through the 50 EMA. And now we're sitting right on top of this volatility cloud in terms of daily closes, which is great to see. Honestly, this to me indicates that we may be having a nice push to the upside to test these local highs around $70,000. But first we had to break through $67,000 and likely close a daily candle above that. That is the spot of resistance currently that we are up against. So we'll be watching that, and let's see how Bitcoin does. This week is the end of this weekly candle here. Or I'm sorry, 2 days is the end of the weekly candle. Let's see if we can get a close above 64,000. 64,000, as you can see right now, this is what's known as a bullish engulfing candle. So we closed way down here at 61.4 on last week's candle, and then this week we've had this big candle that surpasses last week's entire candle body. And so that typically is a good sign of a reversal, a trend change. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. I know we saw another one up here, but the market was overextended at that point and ultimately wound up breaking down. And when I say overextended, I hate when people use that word, but we had a big move to the upside and a correction was necessary. And so, that's why we've seen the breakdown. But after a nice period of consolidation here, to have this bullish engulfing candle is a great sign. We'll see what happens in terms of the close for this week, but I would love to see a close even above $67,000 would be great to see. That would indicate likely that we're going to have a much bigger move to the upside. Let's go ahead and move on. Well, actually, let's go down to the 4-hour chart here. I'll give you my viewpoint on a little bit more lower time frame here. So we've kind of had this big push up here, completing this inverse head and shoulders pattern that I had mentioned. We're hitting the middle line of this channel that I have drawn here, which isn't really necessarily like a relevant point, but this is where we've kind of bounced off of on this 4-hour chart here, come back down, and likely we're going to kind of chop sideways here. We may ultimately see this just being a wick down after this candle came up. Typically traders, as they buy and sell, there will be a wick down on a green candlestick. Like you see this blue vector down here. It came up through there, and then there's this little wick underneath it. This could ultimately wind up being a similar thing, and we continue to push up. That being said, we are close to this point of resistance at $67,000, so we are going to see a little bit of a hesitation there. Still early in the morning, we have the whole day to see what happens, but let me continue. I'm wasting a little bit of time here rambling about that one. Here we are on the 4-hour chart for Ethereum. Moving up with the rest of the market here. Currently, we are getting rejected at the range daily high, so we'll see what happens with that. Fallen below the 50-day EMA still. This is a situation where, see down here we had this bullish engulfing candle on the daily, which put us back above the 5 and the 13 EMA, and then the next day we had a breakdown, ultimately bouncing off the bottom of this volatility cloud on the 50-day EMA. So we will see how this plays out. Ethereum has been showing considerable weakness over these past few days and weeks here, so it's tough to say what happens. We are in kind of like this falling wedge formation. As long as we hold this 200-day EMA, I believe at some point we will have a break to the upside. Ethereum up to this point, it did see some significant gains from January to the end, or to mid-March there, but I believe that Ethereum has much more room to run, so we'll just be looking forward to that. The approval or denial for the ETF is in 6 days. I think that will likely be a catalyst for Ethereum. We'll see how that affects the market. Ultimately, if we could get a bullish engulfing candle on the weekly for Ethereum here as well, that would be a great sign. But there is no indication currently that will be the case. So we'll keep an eye on it, and I'll keep you guys up to date. Moving on to Render. We are, holding the top of this volatility cloud here on the daily chart. A little bit of consolidation after this big move up here. So looks good there. Hard to say what happens next. For the most part, these AI and DePIN coins are performing well, so I imagine that Render will capitalize off of that kind of sentiment in the market. And I'm going to show you here on a couple coins in a minute what I mean when I say that AI and DePIN are doing well. Here on Solana, we had this kind of inverse head and shoulders pattern here, and I placed this trade box. This is something that I had put yesterday, and I wound up missing my daily video yesterday, so here we are today. So we're a little late for you guys to necessarily take this trade, but if you are looking to take it still, you could jump in here and try to ride the rest of the way up. The last take profit here is $196. I would also look to take some profit out around $180 or just below $180. But that being said, Solana is kind of proving this inverse head and shoulders pattern with this nice move to the upside. So we love to see that, and we'll see how that continues to play out. Here on Near Protocol, similar scenario. We've had this inverse head and shoulders pattern, and we've had this break to the upside here. We are approaching this local high that we have here on the chart. So at around $9, $8.99 there. So that would be the closest point of resistance that we have. So we'll look to see Near Protocol break above that. But Near has been performing very well in general. Even when this market even when we had the big downturn in the market, Near recovered very quickly, and it's been a great performer so far. I am jealous of those who were able to enter positions into Near Protocol, as I was unable to do so back when it was around $1, which I kick at myself for that. But everything's going great there with Near Protocol. I imagine that it will continue to do so. I did have, here we go. So if we look at this, on a more of a macro scale here, this looks basically like a big kind of cup and handle pattern here. It was almost like a smaller cup and handle down here, but ultimately this is basically even a larger cup and handle, you could say. And so I've plotted this trade out here also yesterday that you could take. Take profit is at $9.81, and the stop loss is tight at $7.45. So this is a little bit more speculative of a play, I suppose. But to my eyes, it looks like this is likely going to follow a similar path to what we saw with Solana back here when it kind of played out the same way. We've had basically the exact same price action on Solana, and then we had this massive breakout and move from around $120 all the way up to $210, which, if some of you may remember, I had predicted that, and Kyron had showed my chart and prediction on his channel while speaking about Solana, and that played out exactly how I anticipated that it would. So likely we will see a similar move from Near Protocol here. Even on the weekly chart, I was taking a closer look at it, and the confluence or the indicators to me are all present for a move like that. Everything is looking great there. This is a measured move from the right around the bottom of this cup up to the rim of the cup. That's typically the move that will happen from a cup and handle pattern. You can see if I bring it down here, it's about lines up with the top of the cup and handle right there. It was about a 580% move for Near back then, but now it's only about an 84% move, bringing us close to all-time highs, which, it's been performing so well that wouldn't surprise me. We're getting close to the point in time where we're going to start seeing moves like that from some of these altcoins. Near Protocol specifically is one that I was going to mention when I had referenced earlier that these AI and DPIN tokens are doing very well right now. Near Protocol, for whatever reason, has a reputation of being in the AI field. Obviously, we know the founder is, experienced in that area. That being said, it appears that Near Protocol is capitalizing off of that market sentiment, and thus the price action is performing very well. Moving on to ICP here. So ICP has bounced off the 200-day EMA, and now we're coming up here towards the 50 EMA. Likely we will test that. We'll either break through, or maybe we'll get a little rejection there, chop sideways before move up. I did also place a trade here a couple days ago on ICP. Just this morning, the take profit was hit, so that played out very well. It was just a little scalp trade at 8.2%. Very tight stop loss, trade with leverage, so the gains were very nice on that. So I was happy that played out as well as it did. But after this move down here on ICP, the confluence was there for me. So I'll continue to bring trade ideas to the channel for you guys as well. Moving on to Celestia. So Celestia, as we know, has had this really big breakdown in price. We have seen this reversal here a couple days ago with this 9% move to the upside. Let's see, I guess, what happens going forward. I could see, like I had said in the other video that I did, a move down around $7.55. We'll see what happens with that. At this point, it looks like we may see a reversal, but it wouldn't surprise me if we saw this move. People got into Celestia at very, very low prices in the early rounds for funding, and then we had this move all the way up to $21. So there was definitely profit going to be taken, and on this move down, as people saw the price falling, people wanted to also take profits that got in around the launch, it got in right here, the people that got in here. So that is why we've seen this sustained sell-off in Celestia, and hopefully at some point we will see a reversal there, and I'm sure that it will come very soon. Goldfinch has continued its chop sideways. Axelar, we saw a nice bounce inside this pocket here on Axelar, which was where we bounced last time as well. Had this big move up a couple days ago, 16% move, and then yesterday we had about 5.8% move back to the downside. Personally, I was thinking that we may come all the way down to this pocket again here to retest before another move up, but today the market seems to be very bullish, so Axelar is up 5% right now. We'll see how today ends, but ultimately this, it's hard to say what happens here. This pattern that played out here was relatively bearish, although we did bounce where typically we would on such a pattern. So we may see a move up to the 50 EMA here, or we may see a rejection at the 200-day EMA, a little bit more consolidation. It's hard to say. Axelar is making a lot of big moves though, and I'm very confident in them for this cycle. I do want to touch on something real quick with Axelar that I had mentioned to Kyron earlier. And that is tokens like this that have already had these huge runs and have retraced quite heavily in the meantime. These are the tokens that you want to be looking at, not financial advice, to pick up while they're on such good discounts, because clearly there is interest in the market for these tokens. The fundamentals are great on a lot of them, and performance, such good performance followed by a sell-off, which was expected to happen. The price started bear market low was around 30 cents, and people had chances to accumulate this under $1. We ran up to almost $3. There was going to be a sell-off. It was bound to happen, and the market itself had a big sell-off. So we're down now at excellent prices, really good discounts, and so I'm taking advantage of this dip to pick up Axelar tokens as well as Osmosis. I did the video that you may have seen on my channel. I can link it in the description about Osmosis and how well they're doing fundamentally as well. So great opportunity to pick up tokens that have already shown us what they're capable of, and likely on their next push up will surpass the recent local highs that they have already set. Just something to consider. For Pith, like I had showed you in the last video, we came down, fell beneath this support here at 42 cents. Ultimately, we saw a bounce just above the support here at 39 cents, and then we came back up. Yesterday, we had started to break down again. I was thinking we were likely going to continue to fall, but again, the market is bullish today, so price is coming up. We'll see how well that continues to play out. We have the unlock in 3 days here, and I'm thinking my target is right around here at the 36 cent mark for the sell-off that will likely occur from this big unlock. I don't think that it's going to be from the token receivers, but I think the market will be spooked by such a large unlock, and there will be a little bit of a sell-off because of that. Moving on to EOS. This is another one that gives me is a good representation rather of what I was saying before with AI and DePIN projects. EOS is holding up very well. It's actually one of the leaders, I would say, in terms of performance on price action for these AI DePIN projects. We had this double bottom here, which I refer to it as a W formation. We came up and we had this kind of chop sideways here. And now over the past few days, we've just started to curl up to the upside here. Now and even right now, we're pushing up even more. But some of these other coins, like I showed you on Render, it's doing well, but ultimately it's looking kind of tired here on the chart. EOS looks great. We're staying up here above the 13 EMA, above the 5 EMA as of right now. It wasn't always above. We dipped below there for a second, but then we had this engulfing bullish candle to bring us back above those EMAs. So really great price action. Love to see it. And I look forward to see what ultimately likely will be a test of this $1 area again here very soon. Moving on to Injective. Injective still looking relatively weak. We had some good price action with the rest of the market the other day, and so that is something positive to keep an eye on. But ultimately, we are still down very far. Another situation where the token just last year was less than $2, and we ran up to almost $50, a little over $50. So there's expected to be a sell-off after a big move like that, and ultimately Injective held up pretty well, just coming down to around the $20 mark here, and so some coins did much worse than that, and so it has held up well, but it's not looking like it has a whole lot of momentum as of right now. One coin that also I think is doing very, very well is Rweave. Now, this is one that I missed out on, and I'm very upset about missing out on. Down here in October when it was just around $3, just under $4 there, high $3 range. But it has been an excellent performer so far in this market. Right now, we are pushing the local highs. We did break the local high here already today, and I have got a trade that I am likely going to enter here for Rweave. The price is quite volatile, so I have not entered that yet. My target for take profit would be around $53. Right here under this kind of hard resistance there. I measured also this cup and handle pattern that seems to be here on Rweave. It's not as convincing of a cup and handle, I guess, but ultimately that is, kind of what we see here. This will put Rweave basically right at its all-time high of around $75 if the move does play out. It is looking very good here, so we will see how it does play out, but I imagine that in not much longer, we will see Rweave approaching its all-time highs. There likely will be at some point here, likely around, I would say, the $60 mark, where we kind of take a break and maybe have a little bit of a chop sideways. Obviously, it depends on the overall market, but I do think that Rweave will be hitting its all-time high relatively soon. Stacks is one that I want to touch on real quick. On the weekly, we've come down here and just tapped the top of the volatility cloud on the 50-week EMA. That looks really good. It's nice that it held that up. On the daily chart, it's not looking as bullish, but ultimately on the weekly chart, which is the macro, trend overall, it is looking good still. We are holding that 50-week EMA, and that is something good to see. So Stacks will do well, I think, as being the only, one of, I guess, I don't want to say it's the only layer 2 for Bitcoin. Obviously, there's a bunch of them coming out now, but I think that they have proven themselves to be a good quality project. So I think that it will do very well in the coming months and I guess weeks here. Real quick, just want to touch on Link. Obviously, we've seen this price action in the past couple days here has been very bullish. This is due to reports that I guess they're working with JP Morgan on tokenization of assets, something along those lines, which, by the way, Axelar is also working with, I believe, Switzerland on a similar project. So, but they're working with the Swiss government as opposed to, a giant corporation. So interesting stuff. Love to see it. The competition breeds excellence. So, that's a great thing. I'm happy for Chainlink holders. I'm happy for Axelar as well, and Axelar holders. We will keep you guys updated on that. Just to close out here, actually one more real quick. Flux has held up very well throughout this drawdown, holding the 800-day and 200-day EMA. We are now seeing some bullish price action and a push up here, so we'll see if we get a rejection again when it comes close to this 50 EMA. We had 2 rejections so far, so we will keep an eye on that, and I'll keep you guys posted on what happens next. I think if we break this 50-day EMA, we will likely see a push up to around $1.30, where we'll run into some resistance again. So we'll be keeping an eye on that as well. Real quick, before we close out here, I just do want to touch on a couple of stocks real quick. Well, one stock specifically, and that is TeraWulf. So TeraWulf is a Bitcoin mining company. Their market cap currently is $673 million. I think that for Bitcoin miners, there's plenty of room to run here for this stock. Ultimately, their fundamentals are great. They're running on nuclear energy, and they're doing well. They did miss on their most recent earnings, but their earnings have been getting better and better each time. Their previous earnings to this one, they did surprise by 11%. This recent one, though, they were down almost 200% from the estimate. So a little bit of a disappointment there, but ultimately around the halving, we should have expected something like that to happen. But this is one I'm watching very closely. As we could see here, it's kind of trending tighter and tighter in this pattern now, to the point where it's just now kind of holding its 200-day EMA. So we will keep an eye on this one. This is one that I'm loading up on every time it comes to the bottom of one of these swings. I pick up some more shares because I think that the Bitcoin miners kind of get slept on by a lot of us crypto natives, and ultimately they will perform very well in these markets for those who don't want to get involved in crypto or don't understand crypto, and they don't want to deal with the exchanges and the wallets and all that stuff. They're buying into the fear mongering or whatever else about it. So what do they do to capitalize on the volatility of the market and the gains that are to be had?
they invest in Bitcoin miners. We saw this in the last cycle. Bitcoin miners performed very well, very, very well. So hoping that something similar happens in this cycle. Obviously, we'll see some diminishing returns, or the effect of diminishing returns, and it won't be as big of gains as we saw in the last cycle from the Bitcoin miners. But I'm still thinking that it'll be well worth it, and I'm looking forward to that. I wanted to share that with you guys. So that'll be all for today. I did show you a couple trades as we went through here, touched on a bunch of different altcoins. Let me know what altcoins you want to see me go over in terms of charts. There's so many different ones. I don't even know, what do you guys want to see? I'd love to hear your feedback on that. I go through some of the top ones and good performers that I have here, and I try to mix it up every video. So we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave me your feedback. Let me know what you want to see me cover next in terms of altcoins, and subscribe to the channel. Join me here. This is going to be, a daily thing for me. I'm going to make a serious effort to put these out every day, keep you guys posted on what I think is going on in the market. And this way, as a community, we can make the most out of 2025. So thank you for joining me on this journey here. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.